I now call order the regular session meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs on Tuesday, June 18th, 2013 at 6:30. Roll call.
Mayor Archie?
Here.
Vice Mayor Slattery? Here. Commissioner Larson?
Here.
Commissioner Tarpon is absent and excused. Commissioner Banther?
Here. Tonight's invocation will be given by Reverend Jack Long of Regional Medical Center. Being that point, will everyone please stand and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance following.
Heavenly Father, your kindness and blessing towards us are far more than we could ever deserve. We've enjoyed your goodness, and we are grateful. We ask for your continued blessing as a nation and as a community. Help us not to take lightly your provision to us or our responsibility to you and the people we serve. With humility, we ask your hand to be upon this commission, their families, their constituents. Would you bless them individually and collectively as they see to the business of the people. Lord, we rejoice to share together in community and love. Give each one wisdom and courage and strength. Bless Mayor Archie, the police, and the fire, and the public workers in this Tarpon Springs community. May it stand for goodness, justice, and faith. We pray in your holy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, we got a couple of announcements. Yes, item number 4 will be rescheduled, and item 23 is deferred for first reading, which will be held on July 2nd, and the second reading will be held on July 16th. With that, we'll go to public comments for any item that will not be discussed this evening. If you have something, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you will be given up to 4 minutes.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Tabis, and I'm representing Mama's Greek Cuisine, 750 Dodecanese Boulevard. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just coming today to bring up a subject that hasn't been discussed yet, I don't believe, in front of you guys. It's creating a permit system to have an outdoor seating area for pet-friendly, animal, dog-friendly. Of course, this, like many of the other cities that have passed it, would have sanitary rules and regulations, including hand sanitizer, an exclusive outdoor patio entrance, and a separated area, specifically for where dogs could be. Many cities, including St. Petersburg, Clearwater, and Dunedin, have done this permit system, and the county has even considered it for all unincorporated areas. They've seen an increase in tourism and revenue for all of these restaurants because, frankly, many restaurants just have to turn people away when they bring a dog, and that hurts the livelihood of many servers and restaurant employees throughout the city. So I would just like you guys to maybe consider it. I'm not exactly sure the actual process for pushing an item onto the agenda, but just something to consider like many of the cities in Pinellas County. So thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other items, we'll go to proclamations first. Yes, sir. If you come forward, state your name, address for the record, you'll be given up to 4 minutes. And anybody else that would like to, if you would just come forward, I don't want to overlook anybody.
My name is John Stevens, 1408 Garden Avenue. What I want to know is we were talking about the docks the last time we were here. And I was wondering if you people have had any more information from Ed Hoffman on what we're going to do down there.
I can tell you, no, sir, we don't have any more information.
Nothing yet, huh?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. This public comment. Now, does this mean that all down through the rest of the night we're not going to be able to comment on anything, or?
You will only be able to comment on those items that's on the agenda.
Okay. Well, or anytime during the evening we want to comment on them, we can comment on them, I hope?
I will call for public comments, and if you have something, you can come up and tell us, what's on your mind. If there are no other public comments. We go to proclamations. This is for Hurricane Awareness Month, and this proclamation reads, excuse me, City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, whereas in August and September of 2004, hurricanes Charlie, Francis, Jean, and Ivan made landfall in the state of Florida, causing major damage to the state. And whereas in 2005, Hurricane Katrina struck Louisiana and Mississippi and caused catastrophic damage and loss of thousands of lives. And whereas forecasters predict increased tropical activity in 2013 as we remain in a period of increased major hurricane activity. And whereas Tampa Bay region faces tremendous challenges of evacuation response and recovery in the coastal metropolitan region. And whereas the City of Tarpon Springs supports the state of Florida's Florida Prepares program for preparedness and mitigation of all hazards, and whereas the key to the success of any hurricane evacuation plan is the informed citizen, and whereas 2013 Hurricane Guide was produced and distributed region-wide in May. Now, therefore, I, David R. Archie, by virtue of authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Tarpon Springs, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2013 as Hurricane Awareness Month. Chief? You are next, so if you want to go ahead and do the hurricane season of 2013, you can.
Thank you. I am Rick Butcher. I am your fire chief and your emergency management director for the city. We just did a proclamation for Hurricane Awareness Month for the month of June. Should also include July, August, September, October, and November. Hurricane season lasts for 6 months. They use the month of June because it kicks off hurricane season. So what we're going to do is we're going to take just a couple minutes and go through and talk about hurricane season, if we can do it this way. Okay, a little bit of history. We're going to go through it kind of quick because if these look familiar, that's because history doesn't change. However, in the year 2010, it was the third highest number of named storms, and you can read. I'm not going to insult everyone and read it to you, but there's a simple reason why. If you think back to 2010, you're telling yourself, I don't remember it being all that busy. Well, there's why. Those are all the paths that the storms took in 2010. And if you look, the state of Florida is really not affected. It's because they are missed. We did not catch any of the storms. We might have had some of the skirting issues that happened coming out. So just because it wasn't busy for us doesn't mean it wasn't a busy year. Contrary thinking to that is, if you remember, everybody remembers Hurricane Andrew. Andrew starts with the letter A, and that storm happened in September, I believe. That's not a busy season. One storm makes for a bad year, especially when it affects you. The biggest thing that we can do for hurricane season is simply prepare. The more you prepare, obviously, the better you're going to be to react. You have to prepare to react. We can't stop the storm. We can't stop the tides. We can't stop the rain. What we need to do is be ready for when they do come, if they come. And the way you do it is you protect your stuff, your home. Now, the roof replacement code the roofs were changed in 2002. They made a more stringent code. And the reason for that is, and I'm sure that Joe will attest to, by strengthening the way the roof is attached to the house, it's less likely to lift. And that's where most of the damage occurs to homes, is when the roof lifts off the house. Why does the roof lift off? It's usually because a window or a door or some type of hole in the side of the building is left open. The wind comes in, it gets inside. The pressure builds up inside the structure, and it's got to go somewhere, so it takes the roof off. If the roof's attached, it helps keep things stick together better. Misnomer. Duct tape on the window does nothing more than put duct tape on the window. It really doesn't help do much. It's kind of one of those things that, well, I got to do something. So what am I going to do? I'm going to tape my windows. Folks, if you want to protect your windows and things, you can put, there's all kind of different glazings you can put over them. You can put any protection, whether they're metal or PVC. There's all kind of things you can do. But putting tape up really doesn't help much. It just kind of, well, maybe keeps the glass together so it's less to clean up. But if your windows are popped out because of the storm, picking up duct tape with windows on is not, or glass is not all that great. You want to check your weather stripping and caulking around your windows and doors. Why? Because of what we talked about earlier. Keeping a nice tight seal on the windows and doors keeps the pressure from getting inside, keeps the wind out, which is what we want to do. Also, your garage door. If you look at your house, most houses, the biggest hole in the building is the garage door. You open that garage door, and it's just kind of like, me opening my mouth. Half your face disappears because it's so big. It's a big gaping hole. So what you want to do now is you can reinforce your garage doors in several ways from inside. You can take boards and put them across the back to lock them in. There's several systems that are out on the market that are also that work very well. So think about reinforcing your garage door. That'll also help keeping that wind from getting inside your building. Really what you want to try to do is keep the wind out. Sandbags. The reason I have it in red and the question mark is, does it work? When you see a pile of sandbags, well, unlike duct tape on windows, sandbag does kind of sort of help a little bit, maybe once in a while. However, they have to be done right. If you're going to put a stack of sandbags, there's several pictures out you'll see where sandbags are in front of buildings, which the buildings are gone. If you're going to put sandbags out, you have to do things like put plastic, in there to keep the water out. Piling sandbags up really doesn't do much more than keep the impact of a wave temporarily out. Rising water will go right through them if they're not properly put up. Now that's your home. How do you prepare your yard? Well, simple pruning and just keeping the stuff clean, keeping all the loose stuff. When we went through in 04, we had the Gene, Francis, Charlie, Ivan. We had all those storms come through, and basically the biggest thing they did was they cleaned up all of our vegetation around the city. Anything that was loose, that was small and loose, was taken down. Also, keep your gutters and downspouts clean and in good repair. This is just standard maintenance, and your insurance companies will love you for this thing. Also, something to keep in mind is anything that's in your yard. If a storm comes through with a lot of wind gusts and things like that, that little bird feeder or whatever lawn ornament you have in your yard becomes a projectile, becomes a missile, becomes a weapon in essence. It can go through any window, and hopefully there's no one out inside that window, or, it just takes flight. And those things do take flight. Another thing you can think about doing is you don't have to drain your pool, because if you drain the pool, what's going to happen? It's just going to fill up. What you can do is superchlorinate your pool. That might help as long as it's not a very major event. Just make sure when you come back you take care of your pool before you jump in it. You can also throw all your waterproof furniture, your patio furniture that you can, just go ahead and toss it in the pool. It's going to get wet. Might as well put it somewhere where it's not going to get overly become a weapon by taking flight. Another thing to think about for your home is shut your power off. Kill your main. A lot of the fires that occur after a storm is because when the power grid comes back on, what happens is things that you didn't realize you left on, or maybe during the storm got damaged, some electrical appliances and things. When it gets re-energized, my house survived the storm, but when the power came back on, now it burned my house down. So a good thing to do is go ahead and just kill your breaker. Kill your main. And when you come in, you can kind of go through and check everything, then turn your power back on. Or if you turn your power back on, you see a problem right away, you just go ahead and shut off. But it's a good idea. That way you don't come home and thinking that the storm really didn't do any damage, only to find that your house burned down because of the storm. When in reality, what it was after the storm, the power came back on. Preparing your vehicle. It's all pretty straightforward. In fact, I would be willing to bet half of us have these things in our vehicles already. It's just a good idea to keep with you. Business owners. And my friend Dennis Phillips will be talking to Rotary a week from Thursday about this. It's called a COOP, Continuity Operations Plan. Every business should have a COOP. The city does have a COOP plan. Every department is responsible for updating a COOP. continuity of operations plan. How do I restart my business? If I had to run away from the storm to come back and I took all my important things with me, now I want to go back, I want to get my business going again. How do we do that? Make sure you have a COOP plan. Folks, you can Google COOP, C-O-O-P, Continuity of Operations Plan, and it'll give you a nice little format to fill out, and you can just fill it out right online, print it out, and keep it with you. It's a great tool. And also make sure to back up your cell phone for lots of reasons, and I'm a great example of why you should. I've had to go out and get all new friends at least twice because I've either lost or broken my phone and forgot to back up all my contacts. So unless you just want to go out and meet new people because you lost all your old numbers, back up your stuff on your phone. Very important. Know your evacuation zone. When you got your trim notice from Pinellas County, it had your evacuation level on it. I know a lot of people, I didn't even really realize it until somebody told me to look. It's up in the corner on the right-hand side. Know your level. If you don't know it, figure it out. There's a lot of ways you can go about getting it. You can go online, get it. There's an automated phone line. They'll ask you your address. Sometimes if you're calling from a landline, it'll actually pick it up and tell you right away where you are. Also, if you know, there's 4 places. There's one right out in this lobby. There's these big maps we had. And every lot in the city has its color. And the colors will give you your evacuation level A through E, or not evacuated at all if you're that lucky. Know your zone. It's a great idea to know when you got to go. And I'll tell you, usually you'll never see, when it comes to evacuations, it'll always be A and B first. It'll never be just A. So if you're A and B, A or B, just figure you're first out. Pets, I know former Commissioner Alahousas was really big on this. The pet shelters, there are 3 in the county. You have to pre-register your pet. You can't just show up with the pet saying, I forgot to register. Now, it hasn't been used yet, so we don't know if you show up or not because we haven't had any evacuations since the pet shelters have been enacted. But when you do take a pet, you can't just take the pet, drop them off, and leave. You have to take them in a kennel, a portable container. You have to bring food and water for them. They have to be current on all their shots. You need to have all your records for your pets. Our nearest pet shelter is in Dunedin. And also I'll show you in a little bit how to get to that. Pre-register your pets. There's 2 ways. You can go online to do it, or you can do it by phone. All this information will be on these hurricane guides that are printed out every year. These are also available around the city. I think they're out here in the lobby. They're in the public safety facility. They're in the library. I don't know if we have any in the clerk's office yet, but we'll have them available. These are available. They're free. They're produced by Pinellas County Emergency Management. They're a great tool. We'll talk about those a little more in a bit. Special needs. Currently, the City of Tarpon Springs has 158 on our special needs list. What that is folks that either cannot evacuate themselves or has maybe some sort of a medical issue that they need constant care and they're not quite in a home or the hospital, but they need to be taken care of or looked after. We will pick those folks up and transport them to the special needs facility or the facility that is appropriate for them. And hopefully after the storm is over and it went that way instead of this way, we'll take them and we'll go pick them up and take them home as well. Our special needs list is updated annually. We have a lot of people that'll move in, move out, or what have you, but we do make contact with every one of these people every year just to find out their status, if they still need us to come pick them up, or what their situation is. Another way and the way you can do that is also just to call our office, and the phone number is listed right there. The special needs folks do come to us from Pinellas County. Their doctors will recommend that they contact us. So there's several different ways that they are put in touch with us, and they all work. Or just call us or show up, tell us, hey, I need to be put on a special list registry, and we'll be happy to take care of it and make sure that you are taken care of during a storm. In case there's a storm or an evacuation where it's a mandatory evacuation level of at least the west side of the city has taken the measures to shut down that affected area, the water and sewer. And that is done to protect the infrastructure of the city. Earlier I talked about shutting your electricity off, your main at your house. in essence, this does the same thing at the citywide level. What we're doing is we're not shutting all the water off throughout the city. We're just shutting the west side or the affected area down. And that's what that does, like I said, it protects the water system. So if there's any kind of a damage done to it, it doesn't backfill or contaminate the water. It protects the water. I'd like to thank Paul for helping design this a couple of years ago. I think Bob and Joe, you guys had your hands in it. And this really goes the extra mile in protecting the city, and it also, should we get hit, it'll speed things up in getting us back to normal. Should we get hit, we also have two standing agreements with a debris management company. Debris management company will come in and help us pick up all the debris, sort the debris, reduce it, get it out of the city, transport it out. Also, we have a contract with what's called a monitoring company. They watch after the debris company, make sure that they're not trying to cheat. All this stuff is FEMA reimbursable. So every dime that is paid out to these contracts will be reimbursed through FEMA. And they just want to keep really, really close track of it. Now, this is the shelter situation that we talked about. Tarpon Middle School is our local shelter. And, of course, the closest pet shelter is Dunedin at 70 Patricia Avenue. Now, there is a slight problem with Tarpon Middle School right now. Tarpon Middle School is temporarily out of service for us. During the summer, when there's no school, they're doing some renovation work at Tarpon Springs Middle School. So we can't use it until mid-August or so. So what does that do? Where does that put us? Oh, my gosh, now what? We have no shelter. I have been assured by the county's emergency management folks that there's plenty of shelter space that surrounds us. The capacity is not an issue. When you go to a shelter, let's say you go to Eastlake High School, they won't turn you away because you're a Tarpon Springs resident. So you can go to any public shelter. Those are the three closest: Eastlake High School, Palm Harbor University, and Carwise Middle. The capacity of these shelters is not an issue. In fact, one of the things that you should want to think about doing, a public shelter is the last place you want to go during a storm. You should have a plan A. This should be like plan Z to go to a public shelter, because I don't know about you folks, but sleeping on a gym floor in a sleeping bag is not my idea of fun, especially when the air conditioning is not running, there's no heat, there's no lights. So you should already have another plan or a place to go. Maybe family members that are inland or out of the area. You want to move at least 2 counties away to go hang out with some friends or family that are in a different area. Have a reciprocating agreement. Have it set up to where they can come stay with you if their area is coming. If there's a storm coming to their area. But the shelter should be your last resort. That should be the last place you go. However, there are shelters available if that is what you need to do. And for our special needs folks, we already have a plan we have 4 buses from PSTA that will help us take our special needs people to these shelters. So we're covered as far as getting our folks. And if anybody else that needs a ride to the shelter, just contact us or wave us down. The bus services will run their regular routes for free, taking people to the shelters up until the winds are sustained at, I think, 34 knots or 40 miles an hour. So there will be transportation made available for everybody to get folks to these shelters. So I know I'll probably hear questions about that, and we will welcome any question. Our shelters, I was told, will be made available by mid-August when school starts back up. Now, the predictions they talk about, like I started out saying, this was a busy storm. That we didn't even realize it. Well, of course, as usual, this is going to be a busy year. Now, one of the things that, and I wish Dennis was here because this is what because he's so much better. This is all the weather geek stuff that he's so great at. The weather patterns and this and that do talk about the Atlantic being a lot busier this year. So there's going to be a lot of storms, and hopefully they all stay out in the Atlantic. But we still get those little wild card storms that come up through the Caribbean or form in the Gulf. So those are the ones we really need to keep our eye on. We've already had, Andrea come through. Storm names are on a 6-year cycle. They come out of Colorado University. Why the folks in Colorado are the ones picking hurricane names, I have no clue. But they do go on a 6-year rotation. And the way they're retired, the 77 names that have been retired, last year they retired Sandy. Hurricane names are retired if there's deaths or a lot of high-end dollar loss and things like that, so they won't reuse the name. And obviously there's your names for this coming year. And I hope we don't get through them. And obviously if everybody remembers 04, 05, when you get to the end after Wendy, then you go into the Greek alphabet, which I think we got pretty deep into it in 04. Social media is pretty much the way to go these days. We're right in the middle of it as well. The city's Facebook page actually has this program running on at our TV station. 615 has the loop of this running, this presentation. So if there's a slide you want to see again, just jump on our Government Access TV channel and you'll be able to see it. Or our website, you can link to it as well. All that information is at your fingertips, as they say. Now, the biggest thing is hurricane amnesia. Everybody's like, what do you mean? We don't get hit. Who's the St. Michael that protects us? And I hope St. Michael sticks with us. St. Nicholas. I knew it was one of those. You got the saint right. One of our saints. I got his first name right? And that is it. Our guides are available. They're all around the city, and a lot of people really, you don't think about them until the storms come in, at which point the newspapers will reproduce them. These guides, and I did put one in front of all y'all, these things have checklists in them, and these are great tools. They're really, really user-friendly, I guess is the best way to put it. I didn't have to have my kids explain this to me at all. It's loaded with check boxes and pictures and very simple and easy to follow instructions on what to do. It also talks about your pets and your homes and your cars, and it just about answers every question that you can come up with. And I say just about because there's always one that somebody will come up with. And call me, and I will be happy to, or stop by, and I'll be happy to go through anything that anybody has. If I don't have the answer, I should learn it. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Now, I just want to thank you for a great presentation, and I know all of us look forward to not having any hurricanes or being missed again this year, but we do thank you for that. I'm not sure you have anything, Commissioner Lawson and Commissioner Mouser.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank you, Chief, for the presentation every year. It's informative and obviously very important. The biggest question I had, I think you answered, and I just wanted to clarify in regards to transportation to shelters. If I understand correctly, I know obviously we don't have a shelter in Tarpon Springs right now. People that need transportation to the other shelters need to be on the special needs list, and if they're not currently on the list, they should contact the city to be placed on that list. Is that correct?
They can contact us directly, or they can go through Pinellas County Emergency Management's website. There's several ways, or just show up at our door and say, hey, I need my family member, friend, or whoever it is that may need the ride. We just need to get the information from them.
Because I'm wondering if there are some people that maybe in the past figured they could just walk to the shelter in Tarpon, and maybe now they're not necessarily someone who fits the normal category of special needs, but they're no longer within walking distance of a shelter.
Well, that's a good point, and what I had planned on doing is taking the middle school's marquee, their electronic sign, when there's a storm that looks like it may be threatening, is we're going to run that the shelter is closed on theirs with our contact information, and that'll be at least 3 days out, because the technology now has remember that cone used to be like this? Well, the cone is a lot narrower now, so we have a better idea, and time-wise, they're better at tracking it. But to answer your question further, they can contact us. I don't know that, it's been so long since that shelter's been used or had to be opened that I couldn't even tell you how many, if there were any walk-ups, but we'll certainly put it out on their sign days, as far ahead of time as we can, that it's not available for a shelter, contact, and I'll put our contact number on there.
And then when the Tarpon Middle shelter is functional again, there will be some mechanism for notifying the public, a press release or something?
Yes. A press release was already sent out as far as it being closed, and we'll continue to send it out periodically just to kind of remind folks, hey, it's still closed, with the hopes that the contractors finish their work early. That would be great. But I know that they have to get it ready to open for the school year, and that's their timeline.
Thank you.
Commissioner Master.
Thank you. And also, I think it is worth noting, and Dennis Phillips says this, that our most vulnerable time is in October here, because we have the storms that come up through the Caribbean, and I'm a bit of a weather geek. So the last time we were hit by a major storm was in the 1920s.
1821.
Yep, and back in the 1850s, we were hit by a major storm twice in one season.
Mm-hmm.
I forget which year. So people that tell me all the time we've been through Category 3s here know, unless you're my grandparents, know you haven't. So I think it's excellent what you all are doing to make people aware, and just we're going to make sure that amnesia doesn't start again once we pass September and we didn't get hit, or Miami got hit and we're fine, because October and even into November when the cold fronts come down, we are exposed here on the west coast of Florida.
Right. And the peak of hurricane season is September 10th, and then there's another peak right toward the beginning of October.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again, sir.
Thank you.
The next item we have on our agenda is item number 3, Mike Herrera, and Executive Director of the Shepherd Center. And how you doing, Mike?
Don't be cute. Evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Beverly Belair, 1028 Peninsula Avenue, Tarpon Springs. I'm also the president of the Shepherd Center, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce our new executive director of the Shepherd Center. We hired him about 6 months ago, and there's been a lot of changes to the Shepherd Center. And our motto and our goal is not a handout, but a hands up to help the residents in our city. I'm going to let Michael tell you about some really neat programs that we have going on. Thank you. Michael?
Good evening, and thanks for your time today. I'll be as brief as possible. I'm Michael Herrera, the Executive Director of your Shepherd Center, an organization that has been here serving the community for 39 years. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Shepherd Center, it's a social service organization that focuses on addressing the needs of the most at risk in our community. And I want to thank all of you for many of you have touched so many lives through the Shepherd Center, whether giving or volunteering or just offering your skills to help the Shepherd Center throughout the years become the organization that it is today. So thank you. One of the most precious things I've learned in my last 6 months here is how caring, compassionate the Tarpon Springs community is, and it's a wonderful community to be a part of and to be an executive director of an organization like the Shepherd Center. There are some exciting times for the Shepherd Center. As Beverly mentioned, we have some great new ideas, great new programs, and I kind of want to focus on just three areas. The first is our programs. We're doing kind of a complete redesign of what we do with the Shepherd Center. Not so much of a handout, but also the proverbial hand up. We want to get involved in transforming lives of individuals and not being so transactional. And what does that mean? We want to really focus on specialized demographics that are in need. So what I mean by that, for example, is a single mother who is at risk and in need in our community. How can we better serve and help her get to a place of self-sufficiency so she can attain a better education if that's what's necessary, a better career to support her family and what have you. But also, insofar as specialized demographics, the elderly who are often at home suffering in silence, who don't come to our food pantry or are in need of nutrition. We want to be able to meet the needs of that particular population as well. Or the veteran who served our country so diligently and so astutely for so many years and maybe suffering in our community as well. So we're looking at really identifying those demographics and helping to meet the needs of the overall community as well, and partnering with you all. And that's really key and critical for the Shepherd Center, and something we're looking to do in the future. The other really exciting thing that we're looking to do is reaffirm our commitment to the Tarpon Springs community. And what do I mean by that is engage in collaborations and partnerships with other strong organizations like the Salvation Army, the CAP Center here, Peace for Tarpon. We recognize at the Shepherd Center, and I'm sure you all as well, that we can't do it alone. We need the help of those organizations and the help of you all, the City of Tarpon and our leaders, to really meet the needs of the community that's struggling out there. And I think a major push by the board and by the leadership of the Shepherd Center is to engage in heartfelt, meaningful partnerships in the community that really make a difference and make an impact in the lives of individuals here in Tarpon Springs. The third thing is really a celebration of our community. As I mentioned, Tarpon Springs is an amazing community, a very compassionate community with a great long history. The Shepherd Center has been around for 39 years, and next year we celebrate our 40th anniversary. It's been around for 40 years and started very humbly. Just we want to meet the needs of those that are suffering in our community, and began by delivering food to the elderly. And from that it grew 39 years later to the organization that it is today. So we want to kind of get back to those roots and celebrate that. So next year will be a celebration of our leadership, celebration of the community, celebration of all that has been given to us for 40 years in the Shepherd Center. But one of the things I, kind of in closing, I want to invite you all to is, we know how difficult it is to be a community stakeholder or leader in Tarpon Springs, and how important it is to do the good work that you do. So on October 18th, and I invite you all, we're having a prayer breakfast at 7:30 in the morning, October 18th, right down the street at the community center. And it's to pray over our leaders and raise awareness of what's going on in our community, some of the challenges, and just kind of celebrate our commissioners, our public servants, and what have you. So we really would appreciate the opportunity to have all of you in attendance there, because this really is about you doing the good work that you've been doing for so many years. As I mentioned, next year is our 40th anniversary, and we look forward to the opportunity of celebrating, again, the good work. So we have quite a full calendar and agenda for the Shepherd Center. So I look forward in the next few months to kind of come back and give a nice presentation of where we are, what we're doing in the community, and what our 40th year will look like. So once again, thank you so very much to be your executive director here at the Shepherd Center, Tarpon Springs, and I look forward to many years to come. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you. We definitely appreciate the work that you're doing down at you in our city, and the work that the Shepherd Center is doing, and look to continue to support the mission of the Shepherd Center.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item that we have on our agenda is, well, item 4 has been deferred or rescheduled. That's the Chamber of Commerce Beautification Award. And item 5 is an update on the alternative water supply plant project. And Mr. Robertson.
Good evening. I'm Bob Robertson, the Public Services Program Manager, and I am the project manager for the Alternative Water Supply Project, here tonight to give you a brief update on the status of the project. We had a ceremonial groundbreaking ceremony a couple of months ago, which you all were able to attend, and since that time we've been very busy. The engineers on the design build team have been hard at work finalizing the design, and they've been reviewing some cost-saving ideas and presenting those to the city staff team, consisting of myself and Public Services Director Paul Smith and Utility Superintendent Ray Page. So we looked at capital ideas and operating cost savings ideas, a lot of good stuff that they've been able to come up with. At this point, we've been able to identify about $500,000 of savings that, and we're working and looking for more. At this early stage of the construction, we'll be setting any savings that we identify aside as a sort of contingency until the end of the project. In the meantime, several other things are happening. We have 14 wells that are drilled, 14 production wells, and it so happens that 14 is what we need to run the plant. And as I've always said, we want to have more wells as kind of rotational flexibility. As a matter of fact, our permit allows us to drill up to 22, so we continue to look for more. We actually have a property now that we've identified that we own, on which we'll drill the 15th well. and that's pending reapproval of the land use variance through Pinellas County. That's underway right now. We are beginning to investigate adding 1 or 2 more wells in other locations, including Duke Energy's powered corridor, which those are allowed in accordance with the agreements that we finalized last year with the power company. And there's a change order on the special consent agenda tonight that you've seen that addresses these additional drilling activities. In other news, design of the extension of the L&R Industrial Boulevard is about 50% complete, and I'm hopeful that construction of that new roadway will begin by the end of this calendar year. This new roadway will provide access to the new RO plant, of course, and it'll provide a connection between Anklo Road and Anklo Boulevard, which will be critical to providing rapid response times when the new fire station is eventually built on that road, and should help with some proposed development in that area as well. And finally, we are currently in the middle of an evaluation process to hire an engineering firm to design a new deep injection well for the reverse osmosis brine, the concentrate. We see this as a viable brine disposal option that would become the primary point of discharge. We would, of course, retain the surface water discharge that we already have permitted as a backup for use during the times when the injection well is required to go offline for integrity testing and for inspections and that sort of thing. And depending on the subsurface conditions and on permitting, of course, which is often a wild card, it appears that design and construction can be completed concurrently with the construction of the water plant, and we expect it to be the injection well to be available when we begin startup and testing of the RO plant in 2015. The cost of the design and construction of the new and deep injection well is covered by the bond already, so there's no additional funding that will be sought for this injection well project. That essentially summarizes the current status of the project, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions, please, Vice Mayor?
Thank you, and thank you for the update, and again, thank you and all your team for everything you've done for this project. I see that we are about 50% on the design submittal. So from there, when do we expect to be operational? I mean, how long?
The facility is still on schedule for the design checkpoint. 50%, as you mentioned, is due to us in August, and currently we're on schedule for the April 1st startup of the facility, April 1st, 2015.
2015?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Any public comments on this item? No, we thank you for the update, and we look forward to continued progress. The next item that we have will be consent minutes of May 21st, June 4th, regular session, June 5th, 2013, special session. Number 7, satisfaction release of liens, attorney fees, Frazier Hubbard Branch, Trash, Yakavon Metz, LLP, invoice number 42419, special events, Tarpon Springs, Triathlon Rotary Club of Tarpon Springs, September 7th, 2013, authorized utilization of Hillsborough County contract number 1 TV 0-0097-2012/JSW ready mix concrete products and flowable fill. 11 awards, file number 130098-N-JJ, single source purchase of sports field lighting system equipment and associated installation and monitoring. 12, increase file number 120120-C-JJ landscape services. 13, renew file number 120121-N-TK, purchase of food for resale and miscellaneous items. 14, approve correction of Scribner's error on the original agenda item for renewal of RFP number 090042-P, liquid dispersion type catatonic polymer. 15 is award bid number 130085-B-CM, asphalt surfacing. 16, renew RFQ number 100033-S-JJ, continuing services, wastewater engineer. Any items? Yes, sir.
I'm not looking to pull an item. I just have a procedural question. Item number 11 deals with purchasing lighting equipment, and I think, and maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, the money is going to come from a grant, which we're going to be talking about with agenda item number 22. Agenda item number 22 deals with authorizing the mayor to sign the grant agreement. I'm just wondering if it's problematic to vote on number 11 before we vote on number 22.
We'll leave that to you, Mr. Attorney. I guess it only come problematic if number 22.
And I don't anticipate anything. I'm just saying, I'm wondering if it would be better to do it in the other order.
Well, I think everybody understands the situation, so, if you don't vote to let the mayor sign it, because as I recall in that situation, the granting agency requires something saying that the mayor can sign, then you've effectively vetoed it. So, we could pull it and hear it then, or you could go ahead with this with that understanding.
I had a question about agenda item number 22, and maybe if I could ask that question now, that would be helpful.
Anything you need for clarification?
I appreciate that. With the grant, and I'm not sure who's, Mr. Smith, I'm not sure who would be best to answer this, but it appears with the grant that there's certain paperwork that the city will need to prepare, and on one of the forms, it talks about documenting the cost savings for the city. I'm wondering, first of all, because it sounds like good news, I'm wondering, first of all, what we anticipate the cost savings to be for the city, but furthermore, I'm wondering if through the paperwork that we have to submit, is it mandatory to show a certain minimum cost savings? Is there a risk of losing the grant or something if we're not actually saving what we thought we would save? I'm just looking for more information about that.
Paul Smith, Public Services Director, and yes, there is reporting required as part of the grant agreement. That was a template that I gave you all to see because, candidly, the state was still finishing up the agreement, and I think we just got something late this afternoon. So I haven't seen exactly the form of that particular clause, but I can answer it this way. I do know that this has commonly been awarded to many similar municipalities in the last few years with the same company doing the work, and they've been successful with it. So I'm not expecting any problems with performance. As far as the expected savings, I've seen numbers on the order of 40% electrical savings, and that bears out because in the proposal, they're actually looking to replace about 80 fixtures with 56. So just those numbers themselves tell you, because they're more effective at doing the lighting, we can expect a significant power reduction, and that's going to have a carry-on benefit to us because that'll be that much less load on that wiring out there, which is rather old at this point. So that's another benefit that we'll see.
Absolutely, and I really appreciate staff looking into this grant, and I think this is fantastic news. Do you have any idea when you mention a reduction by 40%, do you have any idea what that equals in terms of dollars and cents?
I don't have a number off the top of my head. I do know, I think if I recall, somewhere around $14,000 to $17,000 is what our electric bill is estimated associated with lights. So, if
that's annual?
Yes, if you use those sorts of numbers, you're talking potentially $5,000 or $6,000 worth of savings.
Thank you. Yeah.
Are there any public comments on this item? Chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. The next item is special consent item number 17, approve and increase to bid number 110090-B-JJ brackets groundwater well construction.
Bob Robertson, Public Services Program Manager. This item is requesting a total increase of $225,000 to an existing contract with Applied Drilling Engineering. They are a well drilling contractor. $172,000 of that is directly applicable to the alternative water supply project and is grant reimbursable. The remaining $53,000 is for freshwater well improvements, and those are budgeted under the operating budget for water supply water wells, and those are not included in the grant. I'm here for any questions.
Any questions? Any public comment? Chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Next is ordinance and resolution, item number 18, ordinance 2013-2, amending the Tarpon Spring Comprehensive Plan, Water Supply Facilities Work Plan. Second reading, Ms. Spencer.
Ordinance 2013-2, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, setting forth and adopting amendments to the intergovernmental coordination, capital improvements, coastal management, and conservation and utility elements to comply with statutory requirements to update the Tarpon Springs 10-year water supply facilities work plan to ensure consistency with SWIFMUD's 2010 update to the regional water supply plan, providing for other modifications that may arise from a review of this ordinance at the public hearing and or with other responsible parties, providing for a review of the proposed plan amendment and transmittal to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, providing for severability and providing an effective date. That's the second reading of ordinance 2013-2 by title only. This was published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on June 5th, 2013.
Thank you. Again, this is ordinance 2013-02. This is second reading. This is an amendment to our comprehensive plan that is required to update the water supply plan portion of our comprehensive plan, which actually is in the utilities element, capital improvements element, as well as the intergovernmental coordination element. Since first reading, we did receive 3 review comments from Southwest Florida Water Management District. Those comments have been addressed in the text of the amendment. They're highlighted in yellow. Essentially, they address comments regarding amending our target goals for reuse rates, our level service standards for our usage of gallons per capita per day, as well as addressing a Scrivener's error. If you have questions specifically about those, I'll be happy to answer them. But other than that, there have been no other changes since first reading, and staff recommendation is to approve ordinance 2013-02. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Ms. Wilson? Any public comments on this item? Chair will entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 19, ordinance 2013-16, application 13-39, vacating platted alley on south side of lot 33, block B, wide view subdivision, first reading.
Ordinance 2013-16, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, vacating and abandoning a platted alley lying south of lot 33, block B, wide view subdivision as recorded in Plat Book 16, page 40 of the Public Records of Pinellas County, Florida, providing for findings, providing for easements, providing for recordation in the Public Records of Pinellas County, and providing an effective date. That's the first reading of ordinance 2013-16 by title only. The second reading will be held on July 2nd, 2013, and will be published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on June 22nd, 2013.
Thank you. This is ordinance 2013-16, application 13-39, vacating a platted alley located adjacent to the south side of lot 33 in block B of Wildview subdivision. Essentially, this application is really allowing the owner to obtain clear title on this property. The public records with Pinellas County, not plat maps, but maps maintained by Pinellas County, show that this was actually previously vacated. However, when they were doing the title search, this particular lot appears to have been left out of vacating ordinances, which vacated the same alley on adjacent properties to either side. So essentially, it appeared to have been vacated, but when they did a title search, it came up as perhaps being missed. So this alley goes nowhere. We are requesting an easement because there are city utilities in the alley. The easement has already been provided. That is included in the backup. And so the staff recommendation is to approve ordinance 2013-16. We have received all the required letters of no objection. And the review criteria, there's no adverse findings in the review criteria for vacating such an alley. And as I stated, we have received the municipal easement that will protect the city's right to get to the utilities if necessary. With that, I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Anyone have any questions from the citizens? Any public comments on this item? Joe, did entertain a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 20, resolution 2013-24, application 1326, conditional use retail in the T4C residential zoning district, 311 North Safford Avenue, and this quasi-judicial.
Resolution number 2013-24, a resolution of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, approving application 13-26 for a neighborhood retail establishment for property located at 331 North Safford Avenue, providing for findings and providing for an effective date. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding. The Commission is acting in a quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. In its quasi-judicial capacity, it is not the Commission's function to make law, but rather to apply law which has already been established. The Commission is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at this hearing and apply those findings of fact to the previously established criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances in order to make a legal decision regarding the application. The Commission may only consider evidence that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If that evidence demonstrates the applicant has met the criteria established in the Code of Ordinances, then the Commission is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. Conversely, if the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence demonstrates the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the Code, then the Commission is required by law to find against the applicant. There is an established procedure which we will follow at this hearing. All witnesses must give their testimony under oath. All persons testifying at the hearing must give their names and addresses for the record. All testimony and questioning must address matters that are relevant and material to the issues under consideration. City staff will go first with its presentation and evidence. The applicant will have an opportunity to cross-examine city staff. The applicant then goes and makes its presentation and evidence. The city staff will have an opportunity to cross-examine any witnesses presented by the applicant. At that point, members of the public opposing the application will be given an opportunity to present testimony. After all members of the public speaking in opposition to the application have concluded, members of the public in support of the application will have an opportunity to present testimony. Each member of the public is limited to 4 minutes of testimony. The applicant will then be given an opportunity to make a closing argument or summary, after which city staff will have the same opportunity. Following that, the Commission will consider the matter, and at that point in the proceedings, the Commissioners may ask questions of the witnesses. A motion will then be made, and a vote will be taken. I would ask the Commission to disclose any ex parte communications. There are none. Anybody who intends to offer testimony at this hearing, and that means walk up to that microphone and say anything, please raise your right hand and take the following oath. I think you need to. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I have affirmations from all those who raised their hand. Ms. Vincent?
Thank you. This is application 13-26 for Pistachios Antiques. The property address is 311 North Safford Avenue. Some of you may remember this location as the old Landmark Awards location. The applicant is requesting a conditional use for retail in the T4C residential zoning district. As such, it does require a conditional use review in this particular part of the Smart Code area. Just to refresh your memory, the Smart Code does allow in more residential areas only at corner locations where you can apply for a retail use. This is very similar to the application that was previously approved just to the south for off the beaten path, so very similar type of application. The property contains about 15,000 square feet. There are 4 off-street parking spaces on the property. Essentially, they will take the front part of the building, which will be a retail establishment for the consignment items. They've provided a written description of the proposed use. In addition, and a little bit different, they are requesting 2 nights a month, estimating that they would like to do auction-style events, which is a little bit different, but we're encouraging this. Hopefully this will, help the business succeed. But related to that, since it's a little bit out of the box, we are recommending a couple of conditions, which I'll cover in a moment. Under the review criteria for the conditional use, standards with the Land Development Code, as I stated earlier, this is in the T4C district. They do meet the restrictions of the SMART code for that district in terms of the square footage and parking and what they're requesting. The use and conformance with the goals, objectives of the comprehensive plan are it does comply with that. We think that feel that the use is compatible with existing and planned uses in the area. You have a mix of uses in the area. You have very similar use just to the south, as well as some other commercial and retail uses in the area. With regard to the remaining conditions, we don't anticipate that the application will have any negative impacts on environmental or historical resources. We do think this will have a positive impact upon neighboring property values, bringing the area up and investment in the area. We don't think that the city does have adequate resources to provide services to the property, and we feel that this is a positive impact on future growth patterns for this section of North Stafford Avenue, which is clearly intended in the SMART code, as well as our community redevelopment area. The Planning and Zoning Board reviewed this last night. We're doing a quick turnaround to try to get them on track. We don't normally do that, but time was of the essence for this particular application. At the Planning and Zoning Board hearing last night, there was one comment against the application. I think the gist of the comments were they had seen some trash or debris on the previous property, so that was addressed during discussion last night. The board discussion really centered around the need for the conditions, especially number 2, regarding, I'll read the staff recommended conditions. 1, that no more than 2 auction-style sales events per month are permitted. That comports with their request. And then number 2, the city reserves the right to reevaluate the auction portion of the business in terms of parking and access should it become problematic in the future. The reevaluation of the auction portion of the business will be done through the conditional use application process. And again, just because that's a little different use, it gets popular, it can start to overload an area. We wanted the ability to revisit it as necessary. Ultimately, the Planning and Zoning Board did recommend approval with most of the conditions, and staff recommendation is to approve the resolution similarly with most of those conditions in place. With that, I'll stop and answer any questions you might have at the appropriate time in the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, you want to come forward and make a presentation?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Scudero, 1419 Florida Avenue, Palm Harbor.
I'm Nancy Cooper, 305 Woodchuck Avenue, Tarpon Springs.
Pistachios is our joint venture, and basically it's going to be a retail store. We're going to sell furniture, home decor, very similar to Off the Beaten Path. As I said yesterday at the Planning and Zoning meeting, we did revisit the issue of the auctions, and at this time we're not planning on doing that. So in the future, if we do, we'll come back to the city and ask them to, look at that option again, if that's what we need to do. We're just planning on using the bay that we're renting in our space and the small storefront area as retail space. If parking should become problematic because we also own Off the Beaten Path, that parking lot there would always be available for parking at Pistachio. So, does anybody have any questions?
They ask questions at the end. So.
Okay, so that's it.
You're done for now.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any members of the public who oppose the application? Seeing none, are there any members of the public who wish to speak in support of the application? Once, twice, gone. I'm assuming the applicant will waive a closing summary here or statement. Ms. Vincent?
I would just like, or encourage the applicant to go ahead and keep that second portion of the conditional use and don't withdraw that. It was kind of unclear tonight what your intent was, so I just want to make sure that that's clear. You know, I would hate for you to have to go back through this conditional use process if you decide you want to go forward with the, you know, the two nights a month auction. So I would recommend that we just leave that in place. I don't think there's a problem with that. So thank you.
All right, it is appropriate for commission consideration at this point.
Any questions, Commissioner Lawson?
Thank you. I actually had questions in regards to the auction. I was kind of disappointed to hear that you're not planning on doing them. I was wondering if the reason for not doing them, was that related to any concerns from the Planning and Zoning Board or concerns from city staff?
No, it wasn't related to anything. It was just something that we were trying to get off the ground in the beginning, and I think because of what it's going to entail, we're looking at more down the road to revisit that. Right now we want to get the store open and start generating some revenue.
Sure.
It is a possibility down the road, and it may happen. I just don't see it happening really soon. I know it was an exciting thought, but maybe we can, in a little while down the road, get that off the ground.
Yeah, I just thought it sounded like an interesting way to get people. I don't know if everyone is going to know where you are on Stafford unless they go on the trail. That's obviously.
Well, I'll tell you, social media really brought in a lot of business for Off the Beaten Path. So I just think word of mouth and the social media will bring the people in. I don't have any reservations whatsoever.
Good. If, Ms. Vincent, if they do decide to go into the auction aspect of it at some point in the future, is there anything in here, because I know somewhere it said that their hours are going to be 9 to 5, if they wish to do an auction later in the evening, is there anything in here that would stop them from doing it later in the evening?
No, we didn't put a restriction on that, so.
Okay,
it's
so
in their written description, but it's not
a condition.
explicitly stated as a condition.
Okay. And then the other question, again, I know they're not currently planning any auctions, but if at some point in the future they do decide to go that route, and if it's successful, and if the city doesn't have any concerns in terms of parking, access, and so forth, if they wanted to have 3 a month or 1 a week or something like that, I see we've got the condition here that they can only have 2 per month. I'm wondering what the avenue would be for them at that point.
If we keep that condition in with that specificity, they would have to come back and have that re-reviewed through the Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of Commissioners. So if there's
And then a related question, again, all of this might be silly because they're not currently planning auctions, but if they do at some point in the future, I'm wondering if we could just eliminate that first condition, because I'm wondering if the second condition, which the second condition gives the city the right to reevaluate the auction aspect. So if, in fact, there are problems with the auction, if they're doing them every night or something, and if it becomes a problem, we could revisit it then. I'm just wondering if we could do without the first condition.
Mr. Yakavon?
Actually, that makes a lot of sense, because as I expressed last night, an auction is a retail sale, but retail sale contemplates pretty much one-on-one, whereas auction is a bunch of people bidding. And so the type of the potential problems, it's not so much the number of auctions as how the auction is conducted, the number of people who are present. So I think that's a really good idea. Just eliminate one and allow them to do auctions, and if if it does become problematic, then we can require them to revisit the conditional use and maybe impose some additional conditions.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, great. I'm interested in hearing from my colleague, but at this point I'm thinking that the first condition doesn't need to be there and the second one does.
Mr. Mel?
I'm in support of that as well. Just just like curiosity, will you keep both places open?
Yes, we will.
They sell different items, or what?
We are. It's still going to be the furniture and home decor, but we're trying to appeal to a different taste.
I like I ride on the trail, and I like to pass by your building.
Thank you. So you saw what we did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. And I would agree with Commissioner Larson, eliminating item number 1. And I was kind of upset when you said you were thinking of not doing the auctions, because I think that's a great idea. That is a really great idea. And hopefully it catches on in the community as well. But we have all these antique shops, whatever. Years ago, I'm talking, I don't know, 20 years ago, there used to be auctions on Friday nights. And, it's just a place for people to came from the community, everybody, and they were fun, and, it's an opportunity for you to also to make money, but it also brought the community together, too. So, hopefully you keep that.
Well, I hope it is something that we can bring to happen down the road.
Good. Thank you.
It is. It's exciting, but we have to.
Yeah, and I drove by your other establishment, and you did a great job with that. So
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I have no problem in being supportive of that. I'm happy that, there's going to be a business opening there when one was closing, and don't look at this as being any pressure to start your auction tomorrow. But you see, everybody's kind of looking forward to that happening. So I really don't have any questions. And if there are no other questions, we will entertain a motion.
I move for approval with the second staff recommendation, but not the first staff recommendation.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Next item we have is item number 21. That's resolution 2013-23, authorizing submission of grant application to the Division of Historical Resources of the Florida Department of State.
Resolution 2013-23, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Division of Historical Resources of the Florida Department of State for Florida Certified Local Governments to update the City of Tarpon Springs Design Guidelines. That's the reading of Resolution 2013-23 by title only.
Thank you. This is Resolution 2013-23. Essentially asking the board to authorize our application to the Florida Department of State and the Division of Historical Resources for a $30,000 non-matching grant to specifically to update our design National Register and local historic district design guidelines. Our current document is fairly out of date at this point, especially with the expansion of the historical district, the historic district. There's a lot of architectural styles that weren't covered in the original design guidelines. So again, it's a non-matching grant. We should find out in August if we are selected, and if we are, we'll go forward with the request for proposals to get a consultant on board to finally get these updated. We applied last year and we're not successful, so hopefully we'll be successful this year.
Any questions for Ms. Stone? Any public comment? Shall we entertain a motion?
Move
for approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Banther?
Yes.
Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 22, resolution 2013-26, authorizing mayor to sign grant agreement with the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Office of Energy, and authorizing procurement for energy efficient lighting for the sports complex.
Sorry if I stole your thunder earlier.
Resolution, but it'll make this item go quicker, I'm hoping. Resolution number 2013-26, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, authorizing the mayor to sign a grant agreement with the state of Florida for sports field energy efficient lighting and providing for an effective date. That's the reading of Resolution 2013-26 by title only.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to add a few words, if I could, and I'd like to thank Commissioner Larson for recognizing some of the things I wanted to mention. This grant came about, our awareness of it, through a conference that our Recreation Division staff go to each year, and it's just a good example of how staying in touch with the industry and seeing what opportunities there are out there really can pay off, literally, for the city. So I'd like to thank the Recreation Division staff, Duffy Smith, who is going to be managing the project for us once we hopefully get it approved here, and also Margie Pritchard, the Division Supervisor. They do an excellent job of looking for ways to save the city money. And on that note, I want to say that I mentioned it a little bit, but part of this agreement would be to have this company not only install the lights, but they're going to be monitoring the system and maintaining it for over a 25-year period. So if something goes out, a bulb or whatever, they will dispatch the company to come take care of it. I mean, that's a tremendous value for us. And they actually monitor the system electronically to make sure it's putting out consistent light for the facility. So it's not only going to save us energy, but it's going to provide excellent lighting for the fields. And Commissioner Larson, I had a chance to go back and look at the grant while I was sitting there, and in my off-the-cuff calculations, which are dangerous, I realized that I was giving you the citywide athletic field $6,000. They actually did pledge about a $3,200 savings, and that makes sense because the sports complex is probably about half of our lighting since there's so many fields there. So that is the number we've pledged in the grant as our desired outcome is $3,200 per year energy savings.
I just say I thank you for bringing this forward. I also thank you for just pointing out that sometimes people think that when staff is going off on these type of conventions, they're taking a paid vacation, but there are some worthwhile things that come out of it, especially a grant of this nature and the significance of it in terms of not just the monetary value, but what it's going to mean as far as our fields are concerned. So thank you for that. Any additional questions? Any public comments? The chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 23, application 1335, Bayshore Heights rezoning application for 12.3. I'm sorry, I'm looking at that. That's been deferred. The next, I don't want to get you too upset. So, the next item we have is miscellaneous item 24, license to encroach drainage and utility easement at 1009 Rose Tree Lane. Ms. Nelson.
Thank you. This application is a license to encroach for property at 1009 Rose Tree Lane. Essentially, the current owners of the property bought an existing situation whereby there is an approved pool in the ground, and the edge of the pool deck basically butts right up against the 10-foot drainage and utility easement. At the time that the pool was permitted back in 1997, the plans were clearly marked such that if they wanted to have a screen enclosure, they would not be able to because of the required separation between the water's edge and what would be the screen enclosure. These folks bought it in this situation, so they're not. If you own a pool and you've not had a screen enclosure, you know how much you probably want a screen enclosure. So we met with them, and as I stated, it is a 10-foot drainage and utility easement that they're asking to encroach in. They're asking for the absolute bare minimum, which would be essentially 8 inches of pool deck being added to the existing pool deck. That would be the encroachment into that drainage and utility easement. They're not requesting it even for the entire edge of the existing pool deck, just enough to get a screen enclosure over the existing pool. The technical review committee did review this, and the biggest thing that we noted with respect to it is a drainage and utility easement. The property actually pitches to the front, so the drainage pattern goes to the street already. So we're really not anticipating any adverse effects with drainage on the property by allowing the encroachment into the drainage and utility easement. And then lastly, if this lot were to be platted today, the requirement would only be for a 5-foot drainage and utility easement, so there wouldn't even be that large of an easement there today if it were a newer subdivision. So, taking all that into consideration, the TRC does recommend approval of the revocable license and indemnification agreement that will allow them to add the 8 inches of pool deck and construct a pool screen enclosure over the existing pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the thoroughness of the report in terms of the reasoning that has come to our attention. I have no problem supporting this, especially in light of what TRC is recommending in relationship to what would happen today and as from 10 foot to 5 foot. So I don't know if we have any questions for Ms. Simpson. You know, it's good sometimes to show that government will work with the people. Any public comments on this item? Hearing none, then Chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Banther?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, that concludes the agenda for this evening. Any comments? Chief?
I look forward to seeing you at the Peach concert Thursday night.
All right, look real hard now. Dr. Love.
Really nothing to report on the legal front, all quiet.
Mr. City Manager.
No, sir.
Madam Clerk.
No comment.
Vice Mayor.
No comment.
Commissioner Lawson.
No comment.
Commissioner Banther.
No comments, thank you.
And we're on a roll, so there's no sense in me commenting. If I can see, we would call it 7:51. This meeting will be adjourned.